Hello, hello. And today we are diving into workshops, but specifically using workshops to attract clients. Workshops work phenomenally well at this, and I want to break this down for you, show you how you can start using your workshop to attract clients, because this is your opportunity to connect with them. Yes, you can go one-on-one and have that conversation, but this is your opportunity to connect with them in a group setting. This is your opportunity to present your authority, to share what you know, to engage, to work with them, so to speak, so that you can really build that know, like, and trust factor. Because when you are the business, everything comes down to that. Does somebody know you exist? A workshop can help you get your awareness out there. Do they like you? A workshop can help you to present that so they can get a sense of your personality. And do they trust you? And a workshop 100% can help you to share your authority in what you're an expert in so that people can understand why you. So that's what we're going to break down. Keep that in mind. The know, like, trust factor is extremely important when you are the business. When I say you are the business, I mean you're what people pay for. You are what people are hiring, because it comes, this well of value comes from within you. And somebody has to say yes to you. So this is where a workshop can help you to get there. So as we're looking at the workshops, I just want to kick it off with a case study. This is Melissa. She is a sleep consultant for babies. So she helps newborn parents, or newborn babies, but she helps new parents with their newborn babies to get them to sleep. This is a problem that a lot of parents face, is not being able to get their babies to sleep, or maybe they sleep in the early months and then all of a sudden now they're 6 months and they're like screaming all night and they don't understand what has happened. That is Melissa's specialty. So she comes in and she was working one-on-one, and then she started to hire a team and they were working one-on-one. She was like, how can I reach more people? How can I expand this and get more people? Once again, we're building that know, like, trust factor. How can she get more people to be aware that she even exists, that her services are available, so that when they have their baby or when they're in a crisis situation, they know who to reach out to? You see that? It's playing the long game. So much of marketing is the long game, building it up and having this continual well of people who are available and ready to hire you when the problem presents. So with Melissa, I had helped her create some guides out of her materials. This is a sample screenshot of one of the guides that we created that people could download, and that was good. But we're like, let's take this to next level. And so I gave her the idea of putting together workshops. Now I'm using, and you're seeing as I'm creating this presentation, I'm going presentation mode and I'm using slides as I'm talking through the material, because I am teaching you some items. I want you to be able to connect. I also want you to be able to engage and follow along with me. So in my way I present, I like to use slides. Melissa was 100% new right off the bat. If she does any kind of workshop, she wants it off the cuff. She doesn't want it scripted. She felt really comfortable and confident because she does this all day, every day, talking about babies and how to get them to sleep. So she felt like she could really do it. She just wanted to outline the thoughts in her mind. She wanted no slides. She wanted to be able to see her people right on Zoom and just go from there. So that's what we did. We got her organized and structured, and we gave her feedback on when she did her first workshop, what she could improve on, where any of the little struggles and kinks were, how to work that out. And what we ended up doing is she ended up creating a monthly workshop, and she would share it on social. She would share it in other locations, and she would get people to come attend her workshop. She did paid workshops too. So they were paying to come spend an hour with Melissa, hear the basic fundamentals of sleep training, get one question answered by her. And what this did is, yeah, she made a little bit of money on hosting those workshops, but the bigger money came in the fact that she was able to build that know, like, trust factor, connect directly with these people. And then they were like, I want to book her. I like her. She knows what she's talking about. I want to book her for bigger services. So we use the workshops to get the word out, to create awareness, to build people's know, like, trust factor with her, show her us the authority. And then people would be like, I'm due in another month. I need you. I'm already in crisis mode. I need help. And they would buy one of her packages, and that would more than cover the cost and expense of her putting together the workshop. So I share that in such detail because I want you to start to visualize how workshops can come into play. There's not a right, there's not a wrong, there's not a one way or this way. There's so many different ways that you can use workshops at different touch points in your journey relating to people? Are they a prospect, meaning they could potentially be a customer? Are they a customer and you're trying to up level them? How are you using this? And so that's a big thing to think about too. So as you're preparing for this, one of the things you want to do is always keep in mind that the workshop is to create value. Your workshop is to educate them, help them solve a problem. So there's something that they have a problem with, good or bad. A problem could be, I'm hungry. I don't necessarily think that's a bad problem, but it's a immediate need. And so when restaurants advertise to me, I'm like, thank you. Now I have an idea what I would like to eat. Or somebody shares a recipe. I'm like, thank you. You solved my problem. Now I know what to make. You see this? So problems, I want you just to attach to the idea, is something that there's not going right now, something that they need an answer to, they need a solution for. That's where you create a workshop to help them provide that. So I've watched workshops, going back to the food example, on how to prepare a meal. I've watched workshops on best places to eat when you visit the city, right? There are different workshops and trainings, however you want to label that. I'm using one word, workshop, but you might call it a presentation, a training, a virtual event that allows people to see how you solve their problem. What is it that you have to offer? What is it that you are going to create for them? And if they don't clearly connect with that, if they don't clearly know what that is, they're checking out. Attention span is like, right? And so we need to be able to build that engagement by dropping and creating value. Now, just one pause here. If you notice, I launched this workshop diving right in. I didn't spend time on the fluff. I wasn't like, oh, let's chit chat and have small talk here for a minute. Let me tell you all about me for the next 15 minutes. Yes, I've seen those kind of trainings. None of that was relevant right off the bat, because you want to know more about me only if you're connecting with me and you're like, okay, she sounds like she's intelligent. She sounds like she's knowing. She sounds like she could help my problem. She sounds like whatever. Now, who is she? And now I want to know more about her. But so many people start the workshop with, hey, y'all, like, what's going on? And like, I know it's cloudy outside and nobody cares. And that's not relevant too for when you can use this on replay. Use your workshop you recorded live or you recorded directly to your computer, edited, put out there. Is this going to be relevant time and time again? So yeah, I'm actually recording this morning, but I didn't open up by saying, hey, good morning, because who knows when you're actually going to watch it. If it is the morning when you're going to watch it, that's not relevant information. Lead with value. Get in there quick, show them what you got, and tell them what it is. Help them to understand why they should be paying attention, or they're just going to check out. Long gone are the days when people are just going to sit around because they're like, oh, look at this. Somebody's got slides online. I don't even know, like, years and years ago, before all of this was so readily accessible, I was hosting workshops for a company, and people would literally come and be like, I can't believe that we are on the internet watching a workshop. Those days don't exist anymore, especially post-pandemic when everybody got used to using Zoom and being online. It's just that's all gone. So you've got to connect quickly with the value. So your primary goal for your workshop, okay? Tell what you do, how you do it for them to solve their problem. And so they know, how are you going to connect with them? The premise of this workshop is to show you how workshops, using a workshop, can help you to create clients. That's what you want to know. And I'm going to tell you that, and I'm going to show you, I'm going to continue to demonstrate these examples for you. So your brain starts to go into brainstorming mode and starts to get ideas for what is possible for you. That's my goal, because that's why you're here. Do you see what I mean? You've got to have this connection. So you need to know ahead of time before you even start to create the workshop. There's a good one, right? I see so many people like already planning out a workshop, and I'm like, okay, what's the actual idea here? What's the concept? It's kind of all over the place. I'm like, oh, you want to know clearly what it is. What kind of problem are you trying to solve for the person that you think would be your ideal client? What are you going to connect with them about? And so that's where you're going to show them your unique way of creating a solution for the problem. And this graphic here is a graphic for my business related to the growth cycle. This is something that I teach my clients because I'm helping them to go through this cycle over and over again with their marketing, because they are the business. I work with people who that is the business comes from within them. So it's about expanding them. It's about helping them grow. It's about all these things. And so I use this visual to help explain it. If I was teaching on that in a workshop, I would go through that. I would deep dive. You need to know what your area is, what your USP, unique selling proposition in the market is, so that you can share that. You can present that on your workshop. Once again, they got to know why you can solve their problem or they're checked out. Address the issue and the objections. You can do that right in the workshop. And I want to call this out because I hear people asking questions about workshops and like, how can I use a workshop to present my offer? Okay. Now, yes, I'm all in that if you have an offer for how you can continue to help somebody beyond the workshop, 100%. These people came to the workshop to have their problem solved. There's probably only so much you can do in a workshop, right? So if you have an offer, then that builds off of additionally, look, I can help you by doing this, that, and the other. But so many people just focus on using a workshop simply to address their offer. And I want you to realize that that's putting it on you, that's making the attention about you and not about them. And the other thing with this is I want you to think through, as you've casted offers, you've put offers out into the world, if people have objections, if people have hesitations that come up, what are those and how can you like weed those through the workshop? So that as you're going through the workshop, you can be addressing these, you can be calling these out in stories and examples. And so they're like hearing something like, oh, that person had that problem. I was thinking that might be a problem for me. Oh, that's not really a problem. And they just keep moving forward. Because you can come to the end of a workshop. This is another beautiful thing about using a workshop. If you do it right, you can come to the end of the workshop and that person has already heard you say all the things that they thought were objections in their head. And you've already answered them. You've already cleared it up, that now they get to the end of your workshop or whenever you make your offer in your workshop. And they're like, oh, I think I might be ready. I hadn't thought I was, but now after being here, I'm ready. I went to a training one time, which still another form of a workshop, and it was an hour long. I didn't know this person. They came as a referral to me. So I trusted the source that referred me to come watch this workshop. I get on it. I'm watching this live and I'm like, just drop a link already. Like I wanted them to put the link already because I was already in. They did such a good job of speaking to me as the user, as addressing what my problem was, offering their solution, overcoming any objections I had, that before they even got to the place in their presentation that they were going to actually make a legitimate offer. Here's what I am selling. Here's how you can buy it. You know, that being clear about the offer. I already said yes in my head. I already wanted it. I didn't even know what it was I wanted, but I connected so much with this person. Once again, I didn't know any idea who this person was. So that's where I'm saying you can take somebody who doesn't even know who you are and you can build this know, like, trust factor, and they can get to this place where they're like, whoo, wow, you are the person I needed. I am so glad I found you. I've had people say to me like, this workshop just came out of nowhere. I saw this, I signed up for it. I showed up. I was like, bam. I feel like this is divine timing that you were right where you needed to be. And I completely believe and agree with that too, that you making availability in your schedule to host a workshop, to share on what matters to the people who want what you have to offer. You are doing that. You're making yourself available so that people can come and be like, I have a problem. She offered a solution. I want to work with her. It's that simple. That's why you use a workshop. So address the issue that they're dealing with and help them to overcome the objections as you're hosting the workshop, as you're going through it. So one question I put here that I want you to take a look at is, what does the client actually need to know right now in this moment while they're on your workshop? What do you need to solve for them? Because their problem most likely is much larger than what you can cover in, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, however long you're doing your workshop, an hour. But they've got to know that you know more beyond that. They got to know that you're going to have a bigger solution. They got to know that. So you're going to cover it, but not in great detail. You're going to give them the expansive understanding that you are the authority who is there to support them. So as we keep going through this, I want you to make sure that they understand you. They understand how you solve their problem. They understand what you have to offer and how you can continue to help. There's so many things that they need to understand under each of those categories, but those are the main categories you want to hit on. So just think about in your mind, think about your ideal client. Who is she? Who is he? What do you want to help them with? What is it that you uniquely help them with? What do they need to know to be able to say yes to come into the workshop? And what do they need to know while they're on the workshop to help them to get to another yes? This is really powerful. So what does your future client need to be able to connect right now in this moment with you to feel that they feel understood? And this is huge. I'm going to give you another case study here in just a second about why they need to feel understood. And the other thing I want to address as a little side note, as you're preparing the content that goes into your workshop, this is not take everything that's in my brain, take everything that I've trained on, everything I know, everything I'm an expert on, and pop it down into the workshop. No, because you are not Google. You do not have to prove you know everything. You're not searching through all this stuff. And it would be too much. And I'll tell you right now, this is one of the primary reasons that when I go to work with a client, this is where they find that they've been stuck because they were trying to do something. And I'm like, okay, tell me what your workshop's going to be about, or what do you want to create this on? And I'm like, share it with me. And I always have them do it in writing. And here's why. Because I get something, and a lot of times it's like whoosh, 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 massive document. There's all this information. I'm like, okay, this is way more than any kind of workshop should be hosting. And on top of that, this is more than I would probably put in an online course. Like that would be hours worth of content. This is so much information. And so you want to be able to break this down. And what are just the primary fundamentals that they need to understand right now? Remember, how do they know that you are the right person to solve their problem? What is your solution to solving their problem? And that's where you're going to make your offer, right? And then like they understand and they feel understood by you, that know, like, trust factor. Those are the three primary things that you need to build over and over and over again. As you engage with them, as you connect with them, as you're sharing, as you're presenting your authority, all those things come across in the workshop, but not you being an encyclopedia or you being Google. There's too much information and it's too exhausting. And I tell you again and again, this is one of the things that people just don't understand. And they try and pour so much into a workshop, and then they're like, it doesn't convert, it doesn't work. Well, one of the reasons it doesn't work is because people check out because they're not engaging with you being a data processor, you just being Google dumping all the information at them. They check out. They're like, this is way too much, way too much. So you quickly move into it because you are here to build engagement. You are here to connect with them. You're not building a lesson plan. And I've been a college professor. I was a college professor for 10 years on and off. And during that time, when I first started being a professor, I was only a few years older than the students I was working with. And in my mind, I was like, I got to take control of this classroom. I got to be the authority. I got to show them how intelligent I am, all the things, because I was all up in my head about how I was going to relate to them and how they were going to see me as an authority if I was so young in comparison to them. And so I was like, okay, this is all about my intelligence. And I would create these presentations and I'd be wah, 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 going through these presentations and all these slides and dumping so much information. And I was so grateful that I had a mentor who was kind about it and was like breaking it down for me. It's like, great content, great information, but we've got to simplify this and break this down because it's too much. It's coming too fast at them. And I had to spend more time working on how can I build engagement, because engagement builds your authority too. Engagement shows who you are, that personality that comes through. Do they like you? That relatable factor that they have with you. Do they understand and feel understood by you? It's both. And so that's so important, even more than are you the smartest person in the room? Are you the most intelligent? And can you share the most amount of facts? And there are still professors who are still teaching this way. It's really old school model. And it's not where our culture is anymore. We need more engagement. We need more relationship building. We need more activities. We need to be stimulated during presentations. So just sit back in the chair and listen, go on and on, right? That's gone. This is not what you're looking for. So if that's what your workshops turn out to be, something has gone extremely wrong. You need to get back to how can your workshops feel more fun, be less information, more connectivity. I'm just talking to you right now as if we're having a conversation and you're like, hey, Steph, like, can you tell me about workshop? I'm really interested in to workshop in my business. And I'm just conversing with you one-on-one and giving you insights on what I know. I'm not turning into Google or an encyclopedia or a blog about that. Keep that in mind as you're building. All right, here's the case study I promised you was coming. This is Kelly, and we worked together for a couple of years. And Kelly is amazing. And she's a teacher who was working in a school system, and she worked specifically with students who came into the schools from other countries and didn't speak English. So these were what in schools they call English learners. They are learning English while simultaneously having the pressure of still keeping up in the classroom and learning all the things that their peers who already speak English are learning. Okay, so I say that because that is the problem that she faced as a teacher. Well, she came up with a system and she started developing content because the schools that she was working in didn't have a lot of resources, didn't have a lot of information. And some of the stuff that she was getting given as information on how to work with these students, she felt was irrelevant. Like she found a better way to do it. So what she ended up doing was going out, leaving the school system entirely and wanting to create an online training that she could offer out to teachers anywhere in the country to be able to help teachers in a grander way to understand how to relate, connect, and help these English learners that they had in their classrooms. Because in public schools, often one teacher is responsible for like 20, 25 kids. And if one child, two child, like don't even speak English, and she's dealing with kids with other issues and just the hyperness of children, like, do you see, a teacher could really be losing their mind. So Kelly came up with a unique system for helping them and offering them insights so they had better management tools with working with their students and how to get them speaking English faster. She had proven results. And she came to me and wanted help with her marketing, wanted help with executing this. And that's where we turned it into creating workshops. And we did workshops for her in different ways. But the thing is the teachers were giving up their time. They had a limited amount of time. If they're active teachers, they're very limited on what time they had. And so she would create these free workshops that if they stayed with her throughout the week, and she would do small bits of the workshop throughout the week, then they would build out different activities. So one she did was around a lesson plan. And her promise was, I will give you a lesson plan on how to do this. You'll build it custom to your class. Just show up with me every single week. Or every single day of the week, 5 days this week. If you tune into each of these video clips, as I'm training this at the end of the week, you will have a completed lesson plan that you can go and use. So she had a productivity and she had a promise that she was giving to them. And then they go through it, they see how she teaches and trains, and they loved it. Now, if you're like, 5 days a week, I've kind of heard of that model. Isn't that called a challenge? And yes, you know what a challenge is? It's workshops done over a period of time. We also did one-off workshops and come with us for an hour. And over the hour, she would break down some things, show them examples, talk to them about stuff, give them case studies, all the different things to help them understand what she was covering, but also feel understood that she got it. She'd been that teacher for many years. She'd been the director of the school working with the English learners. She understood that role. She could speak to both sides, the people who helped the English learners outside the classroom, like one-on-one, and the teacher who had to manage English learners inside the classroom, but also keeping up with all the other students. So she could speak to both sides of it, and they felt understood. And that's why I love to share Kelly as the example here, because you need to be able to connect with your people who are attending your workshops, helping them to feel understood, that you get it, that you've been where they are, they understand this piece. And so one of the things that I do when I'm working with my clients is I drop in. I want to get in and understand where they're coming from, know their background. If you noticed how I talked about Melissa, I know her history. We got really personal because I want to understand what she's doing. How is she helping her clients? I need to know the background and who those clients are so I can help her create more of those by using the workshops. Kelly, I understand a great deal about her business and what it is to be an English learner that I had no clue of before because I dove in to understand her market. That is so important. And you've got to deep dive on yourself. And I notice sometimes that's harder for people to do, is to deep dive on themselves and understand how they're different. And so that's where one of my specialties lies. So the other thing that you want to focus on as you're building out your workshop is engagement. Do you have enough engagement? Are you asking them questions? Are you connecting with them? Are you dropping stories? Are you doing different touch points throughout your workshop so they can go from being a total stranger, if that's where they come from, to being like, I have a sense of who she is. I get it. And so a single workshop honestly can make that happen, the know, like, trust factor. And that's what I've been covering and saying over and over, because I want you to walk away from this workshop thinking, how can I use a workshop to turn a total stranger into a friend? How can I go there? You've had those. You've had one-off conversations where you meet a total stranger and you strike up a conversation. You're like, wow, she was really amazing. When can I have another talk with her? That's the same thing you can do when you use engagement inside a workshop. So the important thing is you share as only you can. This is your personality coming through. This is you connecting with them. And a big part of that, if you notice, I'm making eye contact with you as I'm talking. How am I doing that virtually? Because I'm looking into my camera, beep, 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 and I'm not looking at the screen. Occasionally I might glance down, but I'm keeping my focus on you. And I know my material. I'm just remembering, am I staying on track with my slides, right? But I know my material. I can talk this inside and out all day. And that's important too, as you're building engagement. I've seen people try and host a workshop or host a Facebook Live, however you want to think about your workshop happening, but they're like this, and they're looking down a lot, and they're looking at their notes, and they're reading to me from their notes, or they put them on the slides and think, oh, okay, now I'm sneaky. I've got my information on the slides. I put way too much information on the slides, and then they're reading to you from the slides on a workshop. It's awful. I remember one time they hired a speaker to come in when I was working in a private school. I was a communications director for this private school. And so here we are, all this group of educators come to this workshop. It was an in-person workshop, and the person they hired seriously stood in front of a bunch of teachers. So teachers being ability to communicate and present all the time, right? And he just read to us, head down, read to us, and would occasionally look up like this and read, and look up like this and read. No, no. You've got to be able to engage and connect, and you got to share your personality. It's got to come alive. It's got to feel real. You would never have a one-on-one conversation where you were just looking down at your cell phone and trying to talk to somebody. You make eye contact, and that's so important when you're doing a workshop. So here's a couple of tips, traps that you want to avoid. And so look at this list here in the blue, and you want to stop comparing yourself to others. Remember, on the previous slide is how can you show up as yourself? So you're not going to show up and try and model and be somebody else on camera. Don't do that. Do you want to emulate good behaviors? Yes. But emulate their style and their persona? No. You've got to know your own persona. And that's point number 2. I see people who come on and they don't understand what a persona even is. Because there's you in person having a one-on-one conversation with somebody, and then there's you who's hosting a workshop. There's you who's live on Facebook. There's you who's doing these things. And it's like they say the camera, like it changes how your perspective is, like how you look on camera, but video does the same thing. And I'm not kidding you. Video drains your energy. It drains your appearance of how you look. So when I go on camera, I may talk to you in human life. I may talk to you in person without makeup on, and I may talk to you in my normal voice, my tone of voice. But when I do video, it doesn't matter what kind of video I do. I put makeup on because I don't want to look washed out, and that's my choice. You do you. But I also have my persona. And this is me with a more energy, because video drains your energy. And when you watch this, I'm going to seem pretty normal to you on video. But if you were listening to me in the background, like my son is, because he's homeschooling, he's always like, Mommy, I can tell when you're talking on camera and when you're just having a regular conversation. He's like, you turn it on, and 100%. You've got to turn it on for video. And so when you are hosting a workshop, you've got to bring the energy. You've got to bring it, because that's going to dictate how other people are responding. And one of the worst things you can do is not have a sense of your persona and how you're going to show up on video. Now have practiced that and worked through that your energy is going to be lower, and it's not going to attract people. It's not going to keep them engaged because they're not connecting. Persona is so important. That goes with the third one, not bringing the energy. You've got to be ready and pumped up and excited about what is happening as you're bringing the energy to your team, to the listeners, to the attendees, getting to know you. and not relational in stories. Tell stories, drop them, engage. So I've had little tidbits here and there as I'm talking. I just told you about my son. He's homeschooled, what he says about me when he hears me teaching. And then I've given you direct case studies. And I've told stories in other ways to teach and emphasize this point, because I'm trying to use stories so you can start to see yourself in it. This is how you embody and envision it. You've got to relate to it. Stories are a great way to help people do that. Not looking at the camera, we talked about that. Make sure you know where your camera is, make sure it's clean and ready to go. In teaching too much, oversharing, giving too much that they can't stay connected. That is a major trap to avoid. And disorganized mess. And so I use slides because that's how I've been trained a lot. I can still do a workshop without slides. In this case, I wanted them for a reason. I knew that. I was confident with it. Good. You do you and how you want to, but understand what you've set up so you know which best format to use. That's as simple as that. But when you don't organize your thoughts, you don't know how you're going to deliver it. You don't know what your message is. And then you're just like, oh, I'll just flip it on. And I'll just go live one day and I'll just teach on something. It's usually haphazard. It usually comes across different places. Your energy is not going to be where it's be because you didn't practice. You didn't emulate it. Okay. So this is so important. Watch great presenters, watch great speakers, watch pastors, watch teachers who do big things, watch TED Talks, go see how they do it. They bring the energy, they've worked through the material, they know how it lands. Go watch comedians, how they practice the same thing over and over before they take it. And they do the grand show in Las Vegas. Like they have this sense of who they are and how they're going to show up. And here's the final point I want to address with you. When you're doing this, the value of you doing a workshop is it shares your authority. People know who you are and they know how you can serve them. That's two sides of authority. Authority is one, you own it. You believe in yourself to even be the person who shows up and helps. That's one side of authority. The other side of authority is you can share that in a place of confidence in how you can help. And you're not like, yeah, I could help you, but, and you're weak. Authority is like, no, I got this. I've helped so many other people. I know I can help you. That's authority. So it's both sides of it. Are you going to own your message? And are you going to show up with authority and being able to help them? And I've seen where I come to work with a client because they don't know how to own this authority. They don't own their message because they're trying to do a message like somebody else, or they're regurgitating information they've learned from another source, and it doesn't sound authentic to them at all. It's not their way. And on the other side, they're not owning their authority because they don't know how to present their offer clearly. They don't know how to just help and talk about it throughout the workshop and help overcome these objections. And so then they go into this phase and they're like a sweaty hot mess because they're like, okay, I've run out of my slides and now I've got to make an offer. That's not how you want to feel at all, because that vibe is coming across to the people watching and they're just checking out and nobody even gets it. Your authority is so important. And there's two sides of it. So you got to understand it. You got to exercise it. You got to put it into practice so that you can connect with the people who are watching and attending your workshops. With that, I want you to set a clear intention for your workshop. So what you're going to do is you're going to know why you're going to host this workshop. You're going to know who you're going to want to speak to. You're going to want to know what the problem is that they're trying to overcome. So for me, I help coaches to create new clients. I'm helping them to market. Well, one of the ways, my eye is twitching. One of the ways that they can do that is that they can host a workshop. So they can create new clients by hosting a workshop. I use my marketing experience. I have 20 years of marketing experience to help them to craft out this workshop, make it clean, how to present it, how to share it, how to market it, how to promote all the things. And so they can bring this all together. And so my clear intention is just to make you aware that you can use a workshop, because maybe you've never thought of it. Maybe you are thinking about it, but you don't know where to get started. And so you're trying to figure that out. I want to offer the opportunity for you to see the possibilities of using a workshop. And then beyond that, the possibility of working with me to help you to create the workshop. That's my clear intention. And intention is where you know where you're going into it with. It's like getting in the car and driving somewhere and not knowing where you're driving versus I know where my destination is and this is where I'm going. That's your intention. You need to set a clear intention so you know how you're going to use a workshop and how it builds into your business, so you can set a clear intention for how it's going to help the client who comes to listen in. And here's an example. This is Elliot, and this is a lawyer who created an online course. He kept getting asked a lot of the same questions. And he's like, I bet if I created an online course, I could get clients who were better educated, who already understood this, like, and I could eliminate some of this time that I have to keep answering the same thing. And he also wanted to be able to educate a wider realm of people. So then they saw him as authority and wanted to hire him. So it's both ways. So he created this online course, all done, completely, entirely done before he hired me, because he hires me to say, I have an online course, it's done. And now I need like clients to buy it. How do I get people to come and to buy it? And so I went through, I looked at his course, I consumed quite a bit of his course. I talked to him once again, diving in, understanding who he is, how he serves, and who he serves. So I know what their problem is. So we called out some of the top areas that they struggled with. And then I had him make mini workshops so people could build up that know, like, trust factor, connecting with him live, be able to ask him direct questions, and then he could point them to his training course that he'd built so that they could buy the course. And that's how we started to sell them. We were able to package these workshops and sell them to organizations where his people hung out. They were members of certain trade organizations in this industry because he worked with commercial subcontractors. So subcontractors had organizations they plugged into, and these organizations were always looking for workshops to be hosted. I mean, it's like, seriously, there's so many opportunities for you to put your workshops out there, but you just may not be living in this world and being aware of the possibilities. And so we did trade workshops, so to speak, through these organizations to find the people that were going to be his ideal clients. And we just broke it out. So I had him create 3 different workshops, and then he would just kind of rotate through those. So he could let this organization know, I'm available and I'll do on this topic. And then I can turn around and do topic B, and then I can do topic C. And each of them would filter back in to the content in his online course. And so people who would attend his workshops would be like, oh, this guy's a genius and I love him and he's fantastic and I want to work with him more. And and he has an online course. I can just buy his course, learn what I need, and not have to hire him directly for everything that I need. It was a win-win situation. And this was one of the guides that I created to go along with his workshop in this case. So I've given you 3 different case studies because I want you to see how different each of them were. They all used workshops. They used them in different ways. Some did free, some did paid, some did short, some did long, different ways. Some promoted through social, some promoted through organizations, some through Facebook ads. Like, there's just not a right way. It's the right way for you. So knowing the individual strategy for what's going to work in your market based on what you are doing. That's where I ask you these questions and we get it down to being a unique strategy that fits to you versus just being a cookie cutter replica of how other people are doing it. And it doesn't feel right. We want this to feel awesome for you and have the most power and most impact. And so the other way you're going to show up with your authority is you're going to lead with it. So just like I said, authority is 2 halves. You got to own it. You got to know it. The worst thing you can do is come to a workshop and not know your material. And then you're like looking down or reading from a card, or reading on the slide, or you just sound robotic because you're saying information that is somebody else's and you don't own it for yourself. That's one side of authority. And the other side, remember, is how you share. So people feel like they can trust you, that you know what you're talking about. You are relating to them so they feel understood and that you can solve their problem. Make sure you know this. So how do you build authority? How do you relate to them? How do you gauge the interest in where they're going so they understand? And you can do this by sharing your experience, and you do it by how you're talking. At this point, I haven't told you that I have 2 degrees in marketing. I haven't told you, I think I did say I had 20 years in marketing experience, but I didn't go into like all the different things I've done. But it's just coming out as I'm talking. I know I shared the college example with you, and you know I was a college professor for 10 years. Like, I don't have to sit here and go through my resume and bore you to tears, but I drop these nuggets as I'm telling the stories, as I'm teaching to you, as I'm engaging and working through the workshop. So you get a sense of this. So you know my authority, you know where I'm standing. Then I can do other things and I can highlight and I can say, look, here I am with Amy Porterfield, the leader in the industry for online courses. Like, if you actually want to know how to build an online course, Amy's your person. I've done her training. I've been to her event. I have done so much with Amy Porterfield throughout the years. And look, this is me actually getting to meet Amy Porterfield in person for the first time. And it's amazing. Like this kind of information builds on your credibility, builds on your relationship. You could share case studies like I've done. And you may want to show if you have certifications, if you have trainings, all these different things, if that matters. Here I am meeting Jasmine Star, a great influencer, leader, trainer, all the things in social media and so many different areas. Like she's really just amazing person. I got to meet her. Here I am meeting Stu McLaren because I know how to build membership groups because I trained from the best. I've been able to meet Stu in person 3 times. And it's awesome. And it's just the dynamics that I'm able to take and put with my clients, how this works for you. I don't just like have a degree and like, oh, okay, I have a degree. That doesn't matter. I'm continually up-leveling, learning, applying, and doing with my clients so that I do the back study. I'm doing the research so I can bring you the best. So you don't have to. You are a specialist. You are coaching in what you are good at. You don't have to know all things marketing. That's my specialty. That's how I get excited what I do. And so I'm continually up-leveling to bring that to you so you don't have to stress. See that? That's a sharing authority. Authority also comes in the solution that you offer. Have you thought through the solution that you're going to provide? Not, okay, I do a coaching package, it's this long and it's this much money and they'll get this much time. I hate those kind of offers. When I hear people say their offer like that, like I'll say, okay, tell me your offer. And they're like, I do 3 months of coaching. It's a 45-minute session and meet every week on blah, blah, blah. And they get access to me via like, no, that's like you reading the description for my refrigerator that I want to buy. And like you read it just like the specs versus you tell me it has a pull out drawer. So the kids have their own little space and they keep all their little refrigerated snacks in there and they don't go into the refrigerator and make a mess of things. That's what I want to hear. That tells me you understand me. You know what my life is like. And you have a feature that speaks right to me that I should pay attention to versus you reading me the specs out of the refrigerator manual. Not interesting. And so it's not interesting that you say it's 3 months of coaching and this long for this much money. No, they need to know what the results are, the benefit of working with you, how that comes alive. Then they care maybe about those specs, but not until they know why you can help them, how you solve their problem. So your authority comes even in the solution you share. So this should ignite in something to you that you don't have to be stressed out about when you get to this period in your presentation or your workshop when you're like, I have to go present my offer. And it feels salesy. It doesn't feel salesy at all to me to share a solution to help you with your problem. It would feel wrong if I didn't offer a solution to help you with your problem. You see what I mean? It's all in the perspective and it's how you take it. So the core reason that they are here for the workshop, the core reason you're here for this workshop, you've got to be able to express that. You want to relate to them. They got to know that. Remember, what was it? Yes, they have a problem. You have a solution. How are you going to do that? So remember, don't hold back and lead with your authority. And otherwise they're checking out and they're moving on. Our attention spans are so ruined by social media and so ruined by so many things. You've got to get in and get quick. And your authority makes them believe in you. It makes them build that know, like, trust factor. And yes, I've heard me say that at least maybe 10 times now. I keep saying it because I want to drill it home. Don't just think that you say something once and it's going to stick. You know your primary points and you keep saying it over and over. Because one of my specialties is helping my clients to lead with authority. They're lacking authority. I've had clients come to me, and because I work with coaches, I get coaches who have been trained in the same system, same training, same certification. And because of that, I've had coaches come to me as clients, and one will say, I do this, and the other will say, I do this, and guess what? It was the exact same thing. And why did they do that? Because they haven't owned their own authority yet. And so they are saying and replicating the same thing that they've heard in their training and their certification process. Is that you? That's not where you want to be. You got to own your own authority. You got to take control of it so that when you show up, it's set in your way. It's done in your way. I told you all those great people I've trained with. So I have a coaching certification. I have training. I have 2 degrees. I have extra certifications in marketing. I've worked and trained with great leaders in the industry. And those are just a sampling of it. I have so many I've done because I'm continually learning and evolving. But I don't get on here and try and sound like Amy Porterfield or try and sound like Pete Vargas or try and sound like somebody else. I am sounding like me because This is my information. I'm sharing from my place and way I want to deliver it. I put great attention to drilling down and dealing with the authority, because I felt that when you feel vulnerable, you feel weak, you feel hesitant, when you're living in doubt, that's because you're not showing up with authority. And if those feelings are coming through as you get ready to do your workshop, if those feelings are coming through about, can I even do a workshop? That's another clear sign that you need to deal with your authority. And there's something that's just not working for you just yet. You deal with that, then you can come with the authority you need to present this. I had zero qualms, zero nervousness coming to present this workshop, because I'm like, okay, I've already prepped. I'm ready for this. And this is something I can just talk off the cuff with, because I know this. I do this for a living over and over and over. This is something I'm passionate about. I don't have to question if I'm going to have the insight to be able to share with you. That's where you need to be. That's owning your authority and sharing your authority forward. The other thing is you want to keep it moving. You want to keep it fast paced, because their attention spans are small, and because you want to speak at a fourth grade level. So I also want you to think not just fourth grade level, like the words that you're using, keeping them simple words and keeping them moving fast. You're repeating things, you're saying it over and over, because they are getting distracted sometimes. They're not paying attention. They may be watching this in segments and not watching it all at once. I don't ever stress out about how many people come to the workshop live, because I know I'm going to share it and it's going to be used in different ways, and people can use that piece of it at different times. So I want to be able to redistribute and reuse this. I go into it with that expectation. So I know that I want to repeat things I've said throughout the workshop. So if it sits in your brain and then it repeats it and then it sits in there again and it starts to process and you start to remember that. I want you to remember that you're using a workshop to build the know, like, trust factor. I want you to remember how you're keeping it simple. And this is my fourth grader in the red here on the side. And then the twins who are in first grade. So once again, why are you going to use a workshop? You're going to use it to build your authority. You're going to build it to build engagement so they can get the know, like, trust factor from you. You are going to present a solution to their problem and how you can do it uniquely, and that they understand you. They have to feel understood by you, and they have to understand how you can help. So it doesn't matter what your role is, what your industry, what your niche, any of that, a workshop can work for you. I've done workshop as inside corporate, making presentations for things. I've done workshops for clients when we were still in corporate. I've worked freelance with clients and built out their different things. I showed you 3 examples of those here in the workshop. I've done my own workshops. And once again, I'm using workshops as a general term. This could be a live challenge. This could be Facebook Live. This could be Instagram Live. This could be stories on Instagram. There's so many different ways that you can deliver workshops today compared to the options that we had years ago. I've been a professor, so I've taught and created my own training classes and built from there. I've created an online course and I've done workshops inside of that. Like all the different ways that you can host. Oh, workshops inside of memberships. Like you just say it and I've done it, and use the different formats. I understand what workshops are. I understand the value of them. I hope that you are getting the sense of the value that they can bring for you. And remember, workshop size does not matter. So if you get one person, great. Answer their questions specifically. Go deep with them. You get a few, fantastic. You got a moving audience to be able to ask questions and bounce around with. You get 100 people, 1,000 people, however many people you get, like, okay. But no matter the size of the workshop attendees live, still repurpose and reuse your workshop. You might use clips of it. You might use the whole thing. You might sell it. You might package it. There's so many different ways that you can use a workshop continually, and keep working from there to keep growing your audience using your workshop. Avoid these things. In recap and closing, presentation persona, you've got to have one. You got to know what yours is, how you turn it on, and how you connect with people. Energetic vibration, it's got to be there. And the energy is not just like, oh, my energy turning it on, but my energy and how I communicate and that I know my stuff. That's your authority coming through. That's your content delivery. And then overcoming the limitations, their hurdles, their obstacles that they think are in the way. You cover those and share those as you're going through so they feel understood. And owning your authority and your uniqueness. You're different. Own it. Be it. Don't try and emulate and be like somebody else. Don't get caught in the comparison trap. And so with that, as you're looking, you can really take action right now and start to create and craft out your own workshop. And yeah, I say create and launch because there is the process of thinking about how you're going to do this, how you're going to execute different things that you maybe have not thought about yet. And so there is a launch phase to a workshop, and how far out do you want to promote and all the things, and you preparing and putting it all together. But you begin by developing out your idea. You got to know that. You got to be clear on it and crafting your message and cleaning it up so it's specific. So I want to show you an example here. This is how I take my clients through a 6 weeks journey to doing their first workshop and putting this out. And you're like, 6 weeks? It's going to take 6 weeks to do this. Watch why. Okay, because we're giving yourself space to expand, space to work through this, get the coaching and support that you need. So here's where we start. Week 1, I come to you. So you can take the same process and do this on your own, FYI, but look at where you're starting. Look at what you want to do and cover on a workshop. So in week 1, that's what I ask my client. Brand new client, meeting for the first time, talk to them. Okay, tell me who you are. Tell me what you do. Who do you serve? How do you do it uniquely? A lot of times, like I told you already, I'm going to hear things like, okay, well, I'm a coach and I help them do XYZ, and I offer them weekly sessions where we will do this, blah, 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 blah. And it just sounds, blah, blah, blah. It doesn't sound exciting. I'm not like, I don't know why I would want to hire you. So that's what we do in week 1 is I get down to the benefits. What is unique about them? What do they do specifically? How do they have empathy? How do they have understanding for the clients that they're working with? Because they've been there, they've lived it. I had a client who lost 50 pounds and then was teaching people how to do the same because she'd lived it, she'd walked it, she understood it. But the first time that she went to explain that, it didn't come across that way. And so we worked on honing this message and sharing through stories and getting her comfortable on video and camera so that she understood how to connect with them and engage with them through a workshop. This is so important because you can have great information, but not know how to share it. So this is what week 1 is. I give you the homework. Most likely there's going to be homework for you throughout that week to work through honing this. What makes you different? How are you really going to stand out in the marketplace? Because then in week 2, now that you know your true core value, the benefits that you bring, we can start to address what is your workshop going to be about? How are you going to own your authority on a workshop and share this in a way so it feels vibrant and authentic and it comes across as only you can? We get into that. And with that is your offer too. And so it's kind of like, I put these in different weeks, but it's like your offer and your message is all going together because we want to build a workshop that entwines all of that. And so then we review your outline. And yes, I do have you create an outline to start with because it gives you the structure and makes you think through the different elements that you want to do. How do you want to share that? Where are you going to interject story? How are you going to inject feelings here? How are you going to make them feel understood? Where are you going to ask questions? These different pieces all come together and we build this in to put together your workshop. So then we take it to about week 4. So we've been working together about a month and we start to practice this. So before you go live, before you take this out there, you'll do a dry run, which means you'll record your presentation and then I will watch it and I will give you feedback and I will help you break it down. We will see where there's kinks, where you're getting stumbling blocks. We will make it better and you will have that direct feedback before you take it out to the public. See where we're going here? And then we work on setting on the calendar, when are you going to host your workshop? What is that going to look like? And then we understand how we're going to promote. You're going to come up with a strategy for what you're going to put in there. It's unique to you. So you can get people actually signed up and wanting to come take your workshop. And then from there, once you do your live workshop within the 6-week time frame, then I am going to watch that, your new live version that we worked towards and give you additional feedback so you can rinse and repeat. You can keep it going. You can keep reusing this same message over and over as you're sharing in the market. So you see that whole process, and I know that because I've walked clients through it. I know what it needs. I can't just jump on the first session and be like, okay, let's start building your workshop. Because they most likely need some pre-run time. They need to get revved up before they're ready for takeoff. It's like being on the runway with the airplane before you're ready to take off. And we spend the comfortable amount of time here on the runway, getting your message clear, getting clear what your offer is beyond I just do a 3-month package, blah, blah, blah. No, we want to know what it is that you do uniquely, how you do it. And then we can share that information on the back end. That's what's so important. Notice, I shared all the information about how you're doing this. I gave you examples. I shared, you're starting to visualize it, put it in your mind, see it for yourself and be able to use it before I ever got into sharing like the actual details of how it comes across. At this point, if you're paying attention to how I broke this down, it is a 6-week program, but it's all customized with you. We work directly one-to-one, and we meet every week for an hour and break this down. It's strategy and coaching, getting you where you need to be, working through all of this for just $1,500. And so you come out of it with a game plan. And the thing is, once you build this one workshop, you're going to see, and I'm going to teach you this, like all the different pieces of content and other things that you can pull out of that you're going to be able to use in so many other ways to continually to market yourself. So this is huge. This is an amazing opportunity for you to pull all of this together, have the guidance, support, and structure to get it done, get it launched, and then see other ways so you can redistribute and reuse it to keep growing your audience and attracting in new clients, all for just $1,500 over 6 weeks. So with that, if you're interested in that particular offer, here is a direct website, and we will get to work on building out your workshop, putting it all together so that you too can have your own workshop, using it to attract clients into your business. You have something awesome to share? Let's share it. Let's get it clear on how you do it, how you help them solve their problem, what is unique about you, how you can own that in your authority and put that out into the world. That's the power of what I help you to do so you can help more people. It's a beautiful exchange. Thanks so much for joining me, and I hope you have an amazing day. Don't forget, you can sign up here for your own training on creating your workshop at StefanieEverett.com/offers/DNXLLZXK. I will talk to you soon.